So before we start about SQL and what exactly is that, let's see some introduction about this training and what we are going to learn and what are the expectations from you. So all these things. Then we move on to SQL installation and writing the queries and all these things. So first thing, this is more of Power BI centric training. So Power BI is a reporting tool from Microsoft. There are many reporting tools in the market, from Tableau, we have ClickView, we have Google Looker, we have different other traditional BI tools like MicroStrategy, Cognos, SSRS from Microsoft, and there are many other tools as well. So Power BI is a modern visualization tool, so from Microsoft. So this is something like in the real time, you not just only work in Power BI. Power BI as a name, it's a reporting tool. So, but once you join the company, you'll work in Power BI plus some other thing. Depends on where you're working and what project you're working. It all depends. So to make sure you're aware of these things, we should start with SQL. So SQL structured query language, which is very important for any BA developer. So more importantly, forget about Power BI, forget about SQL. You're coming to data world. So data is something very important here. So you'll come to know more about data in the next sessions going forward. So the moment if you join any company as a BA developer, BA consultant, BA analyst, or depends on your role like senior or manager or whatever, you work with the data. So you should be able to understand what data tells to you and what business is and how you can make that information, the data into the meaningful information. So in simple words, BI or business intelligence can be called as converting or translating your raw data to the understandable information or translating your raw data to the understandable format. That is called business intelligence. So what these people do? So they just not only do reporting, we have many things in data side, especially for the BA developer. The first is data. So the first step is where we can get data. So actually data is something you will see we have data in Excel, we have data in CSV files, we have data in different formats. But in the real time, you can work on data within Excel files. You can work on data in CSV files. We can work on data in the tables. We can work on data from APIs. We can work on data in XML formats. There are many formats that from where we can fetch data. There is no any specific rule that in this company you'll work only on CSV files. In other company you'll work on only XML files. Irrespective of the company where you join, the data source can differ. Depends on the project, depends on the company, depends on the data volume. All these things matters. But most importantly, in any company, wherever you go, the most common thing you will see is databases. So for the people who are from non-IT, so because anyway the people who are from IT already they have some understanding of this data, databases and all these things. Especially for the people who are from non-IT and coming from different backgrounds and who are coming to IT for the very first time, you should be able to understand these things very clearly, because this is how you can able to start your career understanding these concepts. So if you have any issues understanding, initially maybe you'll face some issues also understanding these concepts and all these things, but don't worry, it will slowly you will able to understand these things. But please make sure every day you go through these videos or practice these things whatever we discuss in the classes. So how we can use data to convert into meaningful information? So usually data stores in different formats, as I mentioned: Excel, CSV, XML, and databases. But most commonly we use Excel spreadsheets. So everyone of you are aware of what is Excel and how that looks, right? We have Microsoft Excel software. So where we have spreadsheets, where we can see data like this, like a table, a sheet in Excel, where you have like columns, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, like this, and we have this data here. We call them as rows: row 1, row 2, row 3. But if you have this kind of Excel spreadsheets, we have some limitations. So we cannot store unlimited number of data because in general in the real time, you will not see 100 records or 100 rows or 200 rows or 1000 rows. We can see large number of data or huge number of data. That's why we need to make sure these are part of one database. Excel is not sufficient, but for the small files, yes, Excel is fine. And also, the data cannot be organized properly in Excel. We can organize properly in databases. So can you please accept the person? So that is why most importantly, we should know what is databases and how data stores in databases and how can we extract data from databases and what queries to be used. All these things we can see next in the SQL classes, SQL basics. So SQL, again, there are many roles in SQL. We have SQL developer in the company, SQL DBA in the companies, and SQL architect in the companies. So your role would be as a BI, business intelligence developer. So you are mostly into SQL developer category, but again, the roles and responsibilities might change. So you will be doing only few part of SQL, but for the core SQL developer, so they will create stored procedures, they'll create functions. There are many things that we will discuss in the classes. So the first thing is you work with the data from day one till the end of your career in business intelligence. You work only with the data, but from where data comes and what to do, we will discuss now. So the mention you work with database where we have data in the form of tables and columns, but we will see how what is the structure of these databases and what to be considered. We will see in some time. But from where data gets stored in databases. So there are two things in general we call, one is front end and back end. So front end is your application. So for example, so we use also applications in regular basis like Facebook, Twitter, or even if you go to any supermarket, they also use application in the computer to do the billing operations. And in the hospital, they also use some software application to enter your data. This is called front end application. So the moment you enter something in the application, the front end, it can be from the hospitals or it can be in the general stores or supermarket or cinema tickets, or it can be anywhere, wherever you go, you're purchasing something or selling something or buying something, whatever. That's a front end application. It can be custom built application or that could be ERP. ERP is the tailor-made software from different companies, enterprise resource planning we call. So we have Oracle ERP, SAP ERP, we have different ERP softwares. So for example, if a company needs some software, so they'll approach this Oracle and SAP. We have even Microsoft Dynamics is there, which is ERP. So they have the custom-made, tailor-made softwares for their operations in the company. So all these things are the front-end systems where they enter data in the application. But the backend, so once we have data in the application, that is flowed through the backend database, because here once you have data entered in the application, that will be stored in the backend database. So how it gets stored? Will it store automatically? Yes, it will store automatically. But for that in the application, they design like creating stored procedures, SPs we call in short in SQL. So where they write some programmatical code in the backend like .NET, C# or Java or whatever the language they would prefer. Based on that, we have Java-based applications, we have .NET-based applications, we have C#-based applications. So all these are the front-end applications. So, but you don't work in the front end because that is not your part, that is not your role. You work in the back-end part, which is data. So your work starts from database or data sources. So as I mentioned, few companies use, not few companies, most of the companies use database in the backend. And you may also work on sometimes Excel files or CSV files. So whatever it is, you work on something called data sources, any file that contains data or any database that contains data. So your role starts from here. So once we have data in database, you will take that to Power BI, and you extract data here, you transform data here, and you write some calculations in DAX language, and you do visualizations here, and you do formatting. All these things we do in the Power BI desktop tool, which is a development environment. And then we publish this report, whatever we create in Power BI desktop, to Power BI service, which is our deployment area for the end user. So who is end user? So you will use this term in regularly in the real time, end user or business user. So who are these business user? So let's say, for example, you have a company, you are the owner of the company, or you are the CEO of the company, you are the top manager of the company. So I am doing reports for you. So if you work in a company and all your company data is part of any database, and using the database you create reports and all these things, and these reports can be viewed by these people, your finance people or procurement team, your finance team or legal team in your company. So there are many business people in your company. So depends on what kind of data you're dealing with. So they are the one who view your reports. So you're doing reports for them. It could be your top level management. It could be your CEOs or CFOs or COOs or whoever. So they are the one who wants to see the performance of their company. And performance means not just a single word. There are many reports that we create for them to understand the business. So let's say if I start a business, if I want to know like how I'm performing, or how my sales are there, how much profit I got, how much loss I got, compared to previous year, compared to previous month, compared to previous quarter, how much was the difference, and how many customers I have compared with previous year, and whether customers are increasing or decreasing. So these are the business logical questions they will ask you, and you are the one who are responsible to make sure these are available in Power BI. There are two things we can do. The first thing would be, anyway, data is part of your database in your company. So anyone who knows SQL language, they can write a query and they can get all the information. But for the business people, they don't know SQL, they don't know this technology. They're just business people, they run the business, they take only business decisions. So it's your role as a developer in your company, as a BA developer in your company. So make sure you convert all this raw data, which is in the form of rows and columns in the tables in database, into a meaningful information for them to take some decisions. So once you create a report, so these people view these reports and take some decisions. So that's where BA developers comes into picture. So where we translate a raw data into a meaningful information for the business to take some decisions. That is as simple as business intelligence. So to know all these things, first we should know database and what data we are handling. Again, the data depends on which company you're joining and which project you're working on. So I gave example for sales, like previous month sales, previous year sales, all these things. But it's just not the only data you're dealing with. So you can deal with sales data, you can deal with finance data, you can deal with HR data, you can deal with insurance data, you can deal with climate change data, you can deal with sensors data, you can deal with cinemas business, food and beverages, you can deal with transport sector data, you can deal with medical like hospitals and patients data. So you can deal with warehouse, goods and warehouse data. So goods and warehouse means like in a company, if someone is trying to sell something, so where the goods to be stored, that is called warehouse. So we will see inventory data, we can call in other words. So inventory data. So all these things are different companies, different businesses. And we can deal with procurement data. So what are all these things? These are the business. So we generally talk about projects, right? So what project I should keep in my profile and what project I should project to my interviewer, all these things. So there is no any specific project you can keep in the profile. It all depends on what kind of business you are keeping in your profile. So what is business? See, if the company that I'm working with or the company I'm going to join, again, there are two different things. So tomorrow, as a Power BI developer, you can join with TCS, for example. So TCS is your company, and TCS have multiple clients. I'm just giving some example: SBI, ICICI, some banks or some financial institutions or some insurance companies, some other companies also. There will be some clients. So now you, as an employee of TCS, you work for SBI. Means SBI project you will be working on with TCS. That is one way, which is service-based company. Second example, you don't work for TCS, you directly work for SBI, which is product-based companies. So here in the first example, TCS pays salary to you directly because you're working for TCS, but for a SBI project. In the second case, you directly work for SBI and SBI pays salary to you. In any of these two cases, you can join any company in these two kind of businesses. But whether you join for TCS or whether you join with directly the company, so whatever it could be, these business you can experience. So which company you're joining with and what business they're doing. So if you join with SBI, so they deal with banking business. So they deal with banking, loans, investments, portfolios, all these things. Insurance, they deal with again customers, insurance, claims, and all these things. If you join any Reliance Cinemas or PVR Cinemas, so they deal with the cinemas business. So where they sell the tickets, they see how many customers are coming and how much occupancy of the theaters, what is the gross of your theater. That is the theater business. If you talk about medical business in a hospital, so they'll talk about patients, how many patients are admitted and how many doctors and what is the different cases they are expecting in the hospital, and what is the success rate of them, and what is again the medical the pharmaceutical business. So it depends on which company you're joining, because BI is everywhere, data is everywhere. It's not like only you can only take sales, or you can take only finance, you can take only cinemas or whatever. So I'm just giving some examples what kind of business you can experience in the real time. So tomorrow, if you join TCS, you can work for SBI client for a few months or 1 year. After that, maybe you can go for some other client also where they use where they are from chemical industry or from textile industry or from manufacturing industry. So irrespective of whether you work in a company, you deal with the data. So data is something very, very, very important. So if you understand data, then only you can build the reports. If you don't understand the data, if you don't understand the business, you cannot build the reports. It is very simple. That's why for any data developer, SQL developer, or Power BI, or Cognos, or Tableau, whatever, whatever the tool you use for this BI, data understanding is very important. That's why I'm setting right expectations to you on the first class. What are your practice tomorrow, and whatever you see tomorrow, think in a way that you're seeing some information from the data, you're extracting some information from the data. So I'm stopping here. Before I continue, we'll discuss some questions if you have any questions. So far clear?
Yes, it's clear, Murli.
Yes, sir.
Okay, others?
Yeah, it is clear.
Yes, it's clear,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. Let me continue. Okay. So what other tools you will experience in the real time? The first one, mostly it will be MS SQL. So MS SQL is from Microsoft SQL. It is Microsoft SQL Server, which is your SQL Server where we can have databases and all these things. But it is not 100% sure that you will only work on MS SQL Server. because this is from Microsoft, and most of the companies that use Power BI as a reporting tool, they use MS SQL Server as a database in the backend. Most of the times, like 80%, 70% companies use MS SQL Server plus Power BI. But as you progress in your career, you also get opportunity to work on different databases. For example, if you join in a company A, they use MS SQL Server now. Tomorrow, if you join company B, maybe they use Oracle SQL, or they may use Vertica, or they may use MySQL, or they may use PostgreSQL. So they have different forms of SQL, but the core SQL remains same. Core SQL means how to create tables, how to alter tables, how to insert data, how to edit data. All these principles will remain same. So that is why, irrespective of whether you work in Oracle SQL or Vertica or MySQL tomorrow, your reporting tool could be Power BI only. That we don't know unless and until you join the company. But primarily, at least if you know MS SQL Server, which is from Microsoft, and Power BI also from Microsoft, that is fine. But tomorrow, if you join some other company, they will ask this question also, like, do you have experience in Oracle SQL or MySQL? You can tell I worked in MS SQL Server, and yes, SQL is more or less similar. I can still work on this thing. That is how your attitude should be while attending the interviews. But anyway, we'll discuss more on this in the next sessions about the interviews and all. But this is how the tool, the first one you will start with MS SQL Server, which is our database to store all the data from different applications, and from where we can pull to Power BI. But again, we have two different things in MS SQL. Not MS SQL, in general business terms. We have OLTP, we have OLAP. So in simple words, this is online transaction processing, online analytical processing. So T means transaction, A means analytical. But what is the difference between these two systems? This is also database. This is also database. This is a transactional data. So transactional data means your business data, day-to-day business data will be in these systems, OLTP systems. And OLAP is more of analytical data. It means this is more used for your reporting purpose. In other words, we also call them as data warehouse. So database, data warehouse, both are databases only. But data warehouse have some exposure to the historical data. So for example, let's say your business started in 2015. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have applications, front-end applications, as we have some data there or data accumulate there, this will be inserted in your OLTP systems, which is a OLTP database. As the data grows like year by year, like 2015, 16, 17, 18. So we don't keep everything in the OLTP systems. OLTP is mainly used for the business, day-to-day business transactions, day-to-day business data. But once we have some limitations of these things, like limitation means we cannot store complete historical data here. So as the data keeps like growing in your OLTP, we move this data to OLAP systems, OLAP or OLAP or data warehouse systems. But how we will move this data? We don't manually do these things. We use some softwares called integration softwares. Integration software means generally from Microsoft perspective, we have something called SSIS, which is SQL Server Integration Services. We have Informatica. We have DataStage. These are all the ETL tools. We have Talent Data Integration. We have Pentaho. There are many other ETL tools also available in the market. So if you know SSIS and Power BI and MS SQL Server, it is always helpful for you for your career, because nowadays it's not like only Power BI you get a job. Yes, you get a job. Only if an SSIS also you get a job. But few companies also ask for the mix of responsibilities, like multi-skilled people. So where they can do both ETL and Power BI. So few companies prefer that. So in that case, you'll have high chances of getting selected because if you have multiple exposure to multiple technologies. That is why if you have time, I also recommend you to start learning SSIS, which is you can learn separately. So where we extract data and transform data and load data. In simple words, we call them as ETL tool, which is SSIS. Power BI is reporting tool. So if you have the combination of these three, that is really good. Or even, or just to have Power BI, that's also fine. Very few companies expect all these skills. But in the world AP, in the world app, we'll have data of historical as well as current data. But current means it will not be live data, it will be like D-1, like current day -1, which is like last business day. So how exactly we'll do in the real time? So let's say today we have data in our OLTP systems and we have 100 records here as on 21st of December. After the business starts in the night time, so we create ETL jobs, SSIS jobs or Informatica, anything. Every tool is ETL tool and works in similar way, but the way we work will be slightly different, but the components will remain same more or less. The concepts remain same. And we load this 100 records here in the OLAP. As the data keeps growing and growing and growing, all this data is pushed to your OLAP, and this is your database for reporting for analysis. So why it is required? Because this database contains historical data plus the recent data. So in your report, sometimes we also need to compare previous years. So how I was performing, like how your company is performing, or how your business is performing with compared to different time intervals. It can be quarters, it can be months, it can be days, it can be years also. So in that case, we mostly connect to data warehouse for Power BI to create the historical reports. There are few operational reports. So operational reports means day-to-day reports like daily sales, like hourly sales. These are called operational reports. In that case, we also connect to OLTP to Power BI to create the reporting. So it means we need some data. So depends on what kind of data you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with operational day-to-day operational data, or whether you are dealing with the historical data. Based on that, your source will change. But in any company, we'll have two sources, OLTP and OLAP. Most of the times we connect to OLAP data warehouse. But in this data warehouse, how data will come is your ETL developers in your company, like how you as a Power BI developer. So you will have ETL developers in your company. So they will take responsibility to pull data from your source systems to your destination. So destination is your data warehouse and source is your source is your OLTP, and this destination is source for the Power BI for reporting. Clear? This is the flow. But to know what is source and what we write there and how we can extract data, all these things we will see in the MS SQL basic sessions. Because in sometimes Power BI without SQL, Power BI is not possible. Wherever you go, you should know databases, how these works. Because in Power BI, it's a tool. There are few options there. Like there are few specific Power BI options. You should know those options, and you should know how to work on those options. But along with those options, you should know how to query the data. Because let's say, for example, in Power BI, you're seeing the sales are 1,000 rupees. Currently, the sales is 1,000 rupees for December. But if you want to verify these sales, whether you're correct, whether the data is correct or not, you have to in a position to write this query in SQL to make sure these are matching. That is one of the use cases of SQL. Or in Power BI, we extract data from database. So in database, we don't take directly the tables. We also write queries sometimes to extract data to Power BI. It means instead of taking the complete table, we write some queries, we write some joins, we use some string functions, math functions, numeric functions, and all these things, combination of queries also we use to take data to Power BI. That is why majorly these SQL sessions are more of understanding joins, So joins are very important concept in SQL. So how to join one table with other table, and how to filter the data, how to group the data, how to order the data, how can we use string functions, how can we use math functions. So if you know at least these things, you will understand better in Power BI. So if you start with this in before Power BI, so when I was explaining something in Power BI, like data modeling especially, which is very, very important. So if you understand joins in SQL, so joins in SQL is similar to your data modeling in Power BI. And there are some string functions and math functions and date functions, or all these things are there. So if you understand these things, it will be easy for you to understand few Power Query functions and few DAX functions. So both are same. So whatever we do here in SQL, the same thing we write in DAX in Power BI. Similar way we write in DAX in Power BI, and the similar things we do in Power Query in Power BI. That's why SQL is very important. To understand many things in Power BI, it will be helpful for you. I think few of you know already SQL because you're working already in few companies. But especially for the non-IT people and who are coming for the very first time, should practice SQL, and it's very important. That's why please don't just listen the classes, also practice these things after the classes. So now we can start SQL. Before I start, any questions we will discuss. So I set a proper expectations on what you're going to do and in real time, and what you'll be experiencing in the real time. So now we'll start with installation of SQL and discuss about these tables and all these things. Clear?
Yes, Murli. One question. See, is MicroStrategy also same as Power BI visualization tool, or is it different?
You also reporting tool, but it's not. I mean, same in the sense both are same category, but not exactly same. Like how we have different like Cognos, SSRS, like even strategy, MicroStrategy also. It's a reporting. It's a BI environment.
Okay. Yeah.
But now most of the companies are moving to Power BI. So tomorrow, once you learn Power BI, once you look for the job, you will also see some migration projects. So migration projects means they already have some implementation in their company, like Cognos or MicroStrategy or other BI tools, SAP, BO, all these things. But now many companies are moving to Power BI. So SAP to Power BI migration, MicroStrategy to Power BI migration, and Oracle OBIE to Power BI migration. All these things are happening in parallel in many companies. Okay. So now we will install Microsoft SQL Server, which is a software to be used to work on this Microsoft SQL. So in the real time, you don't install these things. It will be already installed in your company, in your system. So we need to just connect to those things and you can work on this. So, but for the practice purpose, we need to install in your local machine. Then only you can work on these things. So the first thing, it is like we have different versions of SQL. Right from like now currently we have 2022 is something is coming. We have in general in the companies you can see 2016, 2012, 2019 versions. But here we are not going to discuss about what version have which differences. So we are going to discuss about the core SQL, how that helps for reporting. That's why you can have, even if you have previous versions also, that's fine. If not, we can install 2019 version now and see how we can work on that. So we have again Enterprise Edition, Developer Edition, and we have some free editions also. So in the real time, in any organization, they use Enterprise Edition because they purchase license from Microsoft for these things. But for the practice purpose, we don't need to purchase anything. It's a free of cost. So you can go to Google and look for SQL Server 2019 download. So currently, the first one you can see this 2019 Developer Edition. You can see download now option. So click on download now. You can see one exe file, small exe file. So click on that exe file, click on yes. But before that, please make sure to have proper software. I mean, I hope everyone have Windows 10 machine, at least, but I think if you have even Windows 7, Windows 8.1 also, SQL Server may support. But for Power BI, you should have at least 8.1 Windows, then only it will support. If you have Windows 7, Power BI doesn't support. So please arrange these things for the practice. So click on yes. So you can see the three options here: basic, custom, and download media. So basic custom means it will be installing by giving some inputs here, but don't go with first and second. Click on the third option called download media, and it will be downloading a 1.5 GB file. So you can go with ISO file, the first one, and select some location. So maybe in your C drive or whatever the location. Already have installed, I mean, already have this like the file, the 1.5 GB file, but I'm just telling how we can be installed. Select your path somewhere in your local machine and click on OK. Then click on download. So this will download 1.5 GB file for you. So let me click on download. So depends on your network speed, it will take some time. So I think I already have, or maybe the speed is more, it's got downloaded. So click on open folder. So you will see the like SQL Server edition. So this is something I've installed already. That's why it doesn't take much time. So once we have this 1.33 GB file, maybe it is based on updates, it may go to 1.4 or 1.5 GB. So if you have this ISO file in your system, so double click on this SQL Server, and you can see this green color icon called this green color arrow mark here, which is setup application. So click on this setup application. So click on yes. It's very easy for installation, but though you don't do this in the real time, how to install these things, but you, as a developer, you should know how to install these things and how to configure these things. At least because tomorrow you're going as an experienced person in the IT. It's not like you're going as a fresher. That's why though you don't do all these things, you should do this installation. I mean, you don't do installation in the real time, but you should know these things for sure. So once you have the screen, you can see the second option called installation. So click on installation, and you can click on this new SQL Server standalone, the very first option. So click on the first one, and this will start the process. So this process takes some time, like it will take 20 minutes to half an hour, depends on your memory and CPU resources in your system. That's why whether it will take 15 minutes or 20 minutes, that doesn't matter. So try to install these things. So initially it will just look for some rules, like whether your system is compatible. Compatible we can see here, but it will just run some system defined rules, and then you can see it will see any updates available for SQL Server. So if nothing are there, click on next, and next it will verify for the setup file. So it will just look for the whether you have proper setup file is available in your system or not. So we have downloaded from Microsoft website, that's why it is proper installation file. So this will validate these things. So depends on your system, and it can be Windows 10 or whatever the machine, or Windows Server if you have, whatever. So if you can see pass means you are good to go. This is Windows Firewall, it is just warning, so we can ignore the warnings. It's just security settings that it's asked to change, but it is not required for us. So if you see any error here, it means there is something wrong. We need to see what is the error. Generally, if you have proper OS installed, we don't see much errors. It will be always passed. So in this step, you can click on next here. And you can see there are two options: perform new installation of SQL Server. Second is add features. So add features is something if you already have MS SQL installation in your system already, and if you want to add some features, in that case you can select second option. But if you're doing for the very first time in your system, then click on first option, perform new installation. But you can see in the below it is showing installed instances MS SQL Server. It means in my system already it is there, it is already available, but still we can do more than one copy of installation in your system. That's possible, but currently I'm not going to install this thing, but I'm just telling the process how to install these things. But in your case, select first option called perform new installation and click on next. And your edition, currently we have downloaded the developer edition. That's why if you can see here, it is developer edition. That's why select developer there in that section. And we no need to enter any key because we are not using any enterprise license or these things. So click on next. Click on accept the terms and conditions. Click on next. Here it's very important step here. What features you are going to install for this installation? The very first one should be database engine services. So database engine services means if you want to work on databases and all these things, this option to be checked. Apart from that, there are many other options here within MS SQL Server we can use. But as per the content, like as per the Power BI specifics, we don't require many other things because if you are linked to big data, if you are linked to DBA specific options, replication options, there are many things here. So for you to practice, check this option called database engine services and just come down. You can see analysis services. So this is something we require when we discuss about SSAS tabular in the later sessions. So that's why we don't install this separately that time. So now itself you try to install, check this option called database engine services and this analysis services, which is used for SSAS tabular model. And if you're also practicing integration services deployment also, there is an option which is already checked here. So if it is not checked, you can also check this option. If it is already checked, then no need to do any action. So these two are important: database engine services and analysis services, and also your instance root directory. So by default, your installation will be happening in C drive, C program files, Microsoft SQL Server. It is a standard part, whether you install this SQL Server in your local machine, whether you install this in a company, whatever, like wherever you install, this is the default location of your SQL Server. You can change, but still I don't recommend you to change. Let it be C drive, program files, and MS SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. And you can see a few more things here, prerequisites for selected features. So if you want to install database engine services and if you want to install AS services, you should be able to install these things already. These things are expected are the prerequisites of your installation, which is Windows PowerShell 3.0 and Windows Visual C distributable. So these things generally part of your system most of the times. If in case if you see there is, if you see some error or maybe it is not available, in that case we need to download these things first, then only the installation can happen. If you continue with the installation without having these things, it will fail at the end. That's why please make sure this is some important step. Check these options, and 99% will not see any error generally, because this comes with the OS installation and regular Windows installations, updates and all these things. So if it is already installed, then nothing to do here. So click on next. So here, instance name. So what is instance name? So for every SQL server, we call them as server instance. So by default, for MS SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server, the default instance name is MS SQL Server. So which is already installed in my system. That is why we cannot have one more thing on the same name. So for you, while you're installing this one, don't click on named instance, click on default instance. The default instance name for MS SQL is MS SQL Server. So that is the default instance. So continue with the same first option. But if you already have MS SQL Server installed in your system, but still if you want to install one more instance in your machine, in that case, click on second option called named instance and give some name for this. Let's say some test, whatever, something. But in your case, you don't need to click on second option because I already have MS SQL Server. It will not accept for me to show at least this demo. That's why at your end, click on default instance and proceed with next. It's very important. Click on default instance at your end while installing this thing. Then it will be asking the configuration of your server. So config means like what, like server config and database config. There are two options will be there. So for any software in your laptop or in your PC, there are something called services. So what are services actually? If you go to your Windows logo, click on the Windows logo, and if you type services here, there are many background services that are running in your system that we are not sure what exactly the services and all, why it is useful. But you can see running. Similarly, for SQL Server also, we need some services to run. Then only we can work on SQL Server and databases. So by default, if you install SQL Server, so these NT service, SQL agent, MS SQL test, based on your instance name, and MS OLAP, all these things will be installed in your system, and these start running automatically. So if these services run your system, then only you can able to work on these things properly. So for that, this is the option whether you want to run these services automatically or manually. So manually means we also have an option here. If you go to services section, so here we can now currently it is running, right? It's not running. We can still start the service. This is called manual. So whether you want to run manually or this should run automatically, that is the option. Usually we don't change this one, but in the real time, this SQL Server agent, this is something to run some jobs in your SQL Server. So we'll discuss what are jobs and what jobs we run in the later session. But SQL Server agent is a service in your SQL Server used to run the jobs. So if you make it automatic, though we are not using this for now, it takes your system memory, it consumes your resources. That's why it is by default as manual. We can still make it automatic, but now we can just keep it manual. And whenever we require to run some jobs, then we can turn on this feature, like start this feature, and we can use. But in the real time, we have the jobs runs every night, every day, depends on your volume of data and depends on how your business works. That's why there we can make it automatic in SQL Server. But for your practice, for now, don't make it automatic, let it be manual only, and click on next. And authentication, database configuration. So once we install SQL Server, if you want to connect to the SQL Server, what credentials, like what authentication to be used to connect to SQL Server? It is Windows authentication. So by default, the moment if you open your laptop, you turn on your laptop or your PC, it will be asking some password, right? Your Windows local account and password. So the same password will be taken for this login also for SQL Server. That is called Windows authentication mode. It means we select the first option called Windows authentication mode. You no need to enter any password separately. It will automatically take your Windows password to authenticate to SQL Server. That's the idea of this option. Windows authentication mode means it will take your Windows password by default to authenticate your SQL Server by logging into that SQL Server. Second option, mixed mode, means SQL Server authentication and Windows authentication mode. There are two options here. Either you can use Windows authentication to log in directly with the help of your credentials without entering some credentials, or you have some privilege to create, to have a username called SA, which is system administrator. SA means system administrator. This is a username and password. The password is something whatever you create here. So I'll just create some random password here. So you can also use second option and create your some password. So once you create, the password here, the same password to be used to log into SQL Server. But in the real time, you will not have access to this SQL Server credentials. Depends on your role in your company. You may be assigned this password, or you can only use Windows authentication. Usually for the ETL operations, we use this SQL authentication. But even though you use or ETL or not, we still use these things. But whether actually these things, DBA team has control, your database administrator team, which is in your company. So they will hold on these passwords and everything because they are the system admins, like DBA database admins. So if it is really required for you, you can check with them and they will give. But if not, if it is only for the reporting purpose, then the Windows authentication is fine. So you can directly access your database. That is fine. But for your practice, to see difference between both Windows and SQL Server, check the second option and give some password here. Before you click on next, click on this option called add current user. This is very, very important. So now we are giving permission to your local user to authenticate to SQL Server. So why it is required? So if you don't add this user and click on next, then SQL Server does not know who is the user in your system access the SQL Server. That is why we need to add current user, because for this user, I'm granting the permissions to access SQL Server in your machine. That is the idea of this option, add current user. This is very important. We should use this option, then only we can continue. Then click on next. This is for the database engine, because we have selected two options, database engine services and analysis services, right? That is the first option. Second option is AS. So we have AS multidimensional, we have AS tabular, we have AS Power Pivot mode. So, but for Power BI, most of the companies use tabular model, and even for our classes also we discuss tabular mode. That's why by default, if it is not selected as tabular mode, select the second option called tabular mode and click on same add current user. Same thing. Now we are also granting permissions to this user to access this tabular instance. That's the idea. Then click on next, but please make sure check the tabular mode here, because this will be useful for our tabular mode sessions in the later once we discuss Power BI. We will discuss SSIS tabular model. That time it is really useful. So don't miss this option. So click on next. So till now, whatever you have done, like whatever you have selected, the instance name, the path of your SQL Server and database configuration, AS configuration, everything we can see the summary, like what you have done here. It just gives summary here. Then the last step is click on install. If you click on install, it will take anywhere around 20 minutes or max half an hour, because we have not selected much options. We just selected database engine and AS, right? It will not take much time, but depends on your memory and CPU resources. It will take 20 minutes to half an hour if you click on install. But I am not going to click on install because I already have SQL Server installed in my system. So click on install. You can see one green color bar will just progress here. So the green color bar reaches the end of the installation, it means that is done. Then this will go to next step. So currently you see, if you observe from starting, so currently we are in this step, ready to install step. So previously we were in this step, features step. Previously we are in this step. So as we progress the steps, this will be in the bold, thick black bold color. So if you click on install, we can see bold on installation progress. If it is completed, we can see bold on complete. So that's how we can install SQL Server. It's very easy. Just we need to select right options and right selections to install this. So I am not continuing with the install. You continue with the installation. I'm canceling now. Hope you're not clear, right? So how to install the SQL Server? Any questions here? One more thing. I use domain machine. So domain machine means even the real time also, you will see company name / username. Let's say, for example, the username is Suresh. In the real time, the name would be his company name / Suresh, something like that. I'm using domain machine, real time machine. So for you, you will not see something like this. You will see your Windows name, Windows PC name, like whatever the name you choose for your Windows PC, the same name we can see here. I mean, the username or the Windows PC name. So I'm clicking cancel, but you can use the installation. So once you install this one, so any questions before I proceed? Yes.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Uninstall steps.
Yes, Murali.
If you already have SQL Server installed in your machine.
Yes, I faced. I installed before, but I faced some errors when I am installing.
Okay, see what you can do is you can go to control panel here. And click on uninstall a program. Then you can uninstall from here. This is general thing what we do. If even after this, if you face some issues, then what you can do is you can go to manually to C drive, go to program files, go to Microsoft SQL Server, then remove all these things manually. That's the only way. Because if you face some issue with installation, first step we'll go to control panel and install these things. If that can able to remove all the installation files, that is well and good. If that's not possible and still you are facing some issues, we have to make sure this folder is not part of your system, and whatever is part of this folder should be removed completely manually.
Okay. Is there any way to any tool to uninstall it completely? Because
I'm not sure, maybe yes, there could be some tools, third party will be available, like
Okay.
system tools and all.
Okay.
But I don't know. I have not used these tools earlier. But only thing
Oh.
is, see, whether you use tool or or you do manually, whatever it is, this folder should not be part of your machine.
Okay.
You have to clean all these files one by one. I mean, you cannot directly remove this one. You have to go to root level, like each and
Yes.
every folder. Then you have to come from backwards to this folder if the installation was not like uninstall was not successful.
Okay.
That's the only way we can do.
Okay, Murali. Thank you.
And another question, power pivot mode. See, power pivot mode is something, earlier, before Power BI, before tabular model, we have power pivot in Excel. So power pivot was used to do analysis in Excel directly. We have power pivot add-in. So that was the power pivot mode.
Okay, Murali. Okay.
Okay, now once you install the SQL Server, what will happen? Okay, now we have SQL Server. It is installed now. Then to connect to the SQL Server, we need some client. This is a server. We need some client called SSMS, which is a tool from Microsoft again to interact with your server. So interaction means to write some SQL queries, to create something, to modify something, whatever, to interact something within your server. We use SSMS, which is SQL Server Management Studio, which is a client tool, default Microsoft client tool to work on this SQL Server. So we also need to install these things. I'll tell how to install. But once we install these things in the real time, so currently we are going to install this in your local machine for the practice purpose. But if you talk about real time, we'll have multiple SQL servers. So multiple SQL servers means depends on different business. Let's say if you have a very large company and will not have everything in one single database. So we have different databases to store different information. So for one business information will be in one database, other business will be in other database. So that's why you will not see one, you will see many in real time once you like start working in the Power BI. And also within the SQL servers, we have different type of SQL servers. One is development server, one is test server, other one is production server. What are these dev, test, and production? So initially, if you develop something, like if for the very scratch, if you want to test something, develop something and test something, we use dev servers and test servers. So dev server means it's also SQL server. It's also SQL server. It's also installed the same way, but we will name them as development server. It means for any development activities, use these SQL servers data for your development activities. Test servers. If you want to test some scenarios in your reporting or in the ETL or in database development, whatever it is, we use test SQL servers. Production servers contains your actual data, your real data in your company. So for you may get access to dev server, test server, and prod server tomorrow once you join the company. But dev and test, you will have both read and write access. Read and write access means you can write a query and you can extract data. Write means you can also modify something. We can insert something, we can remove something, we can also do this thing. For the production, you will have only read access. It means you are not allowed to do any operation on this production database without your DBA permission or without notice, any prior information to them. Because production database contains your actual data of your company. It's very critical database and it is very monitored, completely monitored. So whatever the actions you do on this database is completely monitored. That is why generally you will not have access. I mean, for few cases, yes, you'll have access for sure. But in general, we don't have access to the production database, and only we can read. Read means we can see what data available. Even Power BI also we connect to production database only, because wherever we have actual data, that database only we connect to and we can do the reports. So this is something you should understand before you join any company. You will have multiple like versions, dev, sorry, not versions, multiple environments, dev environment, test environment, and production environment. But in your case, everything is same, because we need multiple servers for that. In real time, we have multiple servers. That's why it is possible. But in general, for your practice purpose, it's not possible. So we'll have only one server for your practice, and you can do whatever you want there to practice purpose. But what to do in real time, what cannot be done in the real time, we will see in some time. But first, before creating databases and all, we need to have this tool install SSMS. Let's see how we can install that. So this is also from Microsoft. You can install later, Monica. As you know the process now, you can also install. If you have any questions, let me know. I mean, if you face some issues in the installation. So same thing, in the same window, in the SQL installation window, you can see an option called Install SQL Server Management Tools. You can click on this link. It will open one Google Microsoft link, or directly you can go to Google and look for SSMS download. Anything is fine. Both will take us to same link only. So here we have one more, which is free tool, free download of SQL Server Studio 18.1.0, 18.10. Again, this is a recent version, so it doesn't matter. You can have even old versions, that's fine. But recently, it's updates frequently, this version. So whenever you have a recent version, you can download these things. It's also very quick to install. It will not take much time. It is close to 700 MB. So double click on this. So click on yes. So click on install. Same thing. C program files. It's the same default path, so no need to change. Click on install. It'll take some time. This will install two things. One is SSMS. Other one is Azure Data Studio. So what is Azure Data Studio? That is also a client tool to connect to different SQL components which are in cloud. I mean, you can still connect to on-premises also. I mean, I'll tell what is on-premises and cloud in some time. So we can see two things. One is SSMS as well as Azure Data Studio. So both are client tools to interact with your servers and databases. But both works in different way, but the idea is same. So let it download. It will take some time, 5 minutes at least. But let's continue with our discussion till the time it progress. Now there are majorly two different versions of. Yes, any question?
Yeah, actually we are installed all SQL Server, right? So why we need to download again?
No, we are not downloading SQL Server. We are downloading SSMS. SQL Server Management Studio, which is a client tool to interact with your server. Okay, now we have server, but how we can communicate to server? There should be some medium, right, to communicate to server. That is called SSMS.
Yeah, okay.
This is a medium to connect with the SQL server, right?
Correct, yes. To communicate or to interact with your SQL server, we need SSMS. The same SSMS used in real time, whether you are in India, America, or wherever, the same SSMS tool, the same SQL server will be there. Yeah, the server name will be different, and database name will be different, and data will be different, but idea is same. There are important things to understand. There are two terms here. One is on premises, other one is cloud. What is on-premises? On-premises means if your SQL Server installed in your company environment, your company premises. So currently we have installed this SQL Server in your local machine. It means you're doing setup here in your local. So if you talk about organization level, if any of the SQL servers are installed in the company premises, in the company servers or company environment, we call them as on-premises. If you don't install anything in your company premises, but we install this in cloud, which is Microsoft Azure. This is cloud. So major difference is in the on-premises, your company should appoint someone or should be taken, someone should be there to install these servers and manage these servers and take backup of these servers and do some support if there is some issue with the databases. Everything these people will take care. It means you are involving some cost here to install these things and maintain these things. This is in your premises. So you can do whatever you want because it is in your premises, in your company premises, which is your SQL Server. But cloud means, so there are again multiple offerings in cloud. So where Microsoft offers as a service, it means you don't install these things in your local. You don't install these things in your company premises, in your company local premises. So Microsoft provides this as a service in Azure. So we pay to Microsoft to use this service. So they will take care of many things like what you do, whatever you spend for on-premises installation of SQL servers and maintenance of these things. Microsoft will take care on your behalf, and you will just use those services and you pay them. That is Microsoft Azure SQL. So tomorrow in your company, either you can use on-prem SQL, either you can use cloud SQL. Both are exactly same. The way it was maintained is only different. The SQL will remain same. So SQL queries will not differ. Most of the general SQL queries will not be differed. It will be same. But this is a difference. You should be aware of these things. Whether you're working on Azure SQL or MS SQL Server. But anyway, we'll discuss this Azure SQL once we have some familiarity. Once you understand SQL Server. So let's go back. Okay, it's installed now. So once it is installed, so go to your start. Once SQL Server get installed, once SSMS is installed, then restart your machine for the first time, because for many installations we require to restart. That's why it is recommended to restart your machine before we open that and work on these things. So that's why instead of restarting 2 times after SQL Server and SSMS, so once we do both, restart your machine. So once restarted, go to your start and just type SSMS. This is your client tool. Now the very first screen would be connection. So to which server you want to connect. So currently I have installed this in my local machine. That is why this is called local host or local server. So to explain you better, now this is your computer. But because there is no server here, I've installed in your local machine to practice. But in the real time, we install these things in the proper Windows servers. In the Windows servers we install, that is your machine, that is your local server. But in your case, your computer is your local server now. Now, before you connect to SQL Server, the server where we install, we need to provide some details. What is the server name? Server name is your machine name, simple words. So you can give your machine name, your laptop, like whatever your PC name, machine name, or you can use simply dot or localhost. Any of this would work. Machine name, dot or localhost. So these 3 things are used in the server name. Then authentication. Once you give this name, what type of authentication you need to use to connect to SQL Server? It can be Windows authentication or SQL authentication. Windows means we don't need to enter any password. By default, it will pick your Windows password. Secret authentication means we need to use username and password. That we will see in some time. But in the real time, how it works. So currently, it is part of your local machine. Only you can use this server for your practice purpose. But in the real time, let's say we have a proper Windows server, and there we install SQL Server. Now, in company, there are many people work on Power BI. There are many people work on databases. There are many people work on ETL, and many people work on data especially. So how it works is, let me take one more. So this is our SQL Server. Just in this is our SQL Server installed in one machine. Let's say in machine 1, we will install the SQL Server. Now you will have your laptops, right? Your company provides laptops to you. Let's say there are 5 people in your company. So 5 people have 5 different laptops and their own work machine to work on your tasks. So let's take A, B, C, D, E. 5 people are there. So these 5 people can connect to this server and work on their reporting or ETL or whatever. So the difference here is, in the first case, because you're installing this in your local machine, it is only for you. But in real time, it is centrally hosted in some server where other people also can interact with the same server and they can do the tasks. So tomorrow in your real time, if you have your laptop, you should not use dot there, because dot or localhost is only used if your SQL Server is part of your local machine. If SQL Server is not part of your local machine, it is installed remotely somewhere. This is called remote SQL Server, we call it. So if it is installed remotely somewhere, we connect to this server based on the server name what you provide. So that server name dot can be, or localhost can be if it is installed in your local machine, or some other name like server name we have to give if it is in the remote location. It is hosted centrally in your company. So that's something you need to understand before you write something in the server name. Hope everyone is clear of this concept, what I'm trying to explain here. Clear? Fine? You understand this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this server name, because currently this SQL installed in my local machine, I use dot. But in the real time in the company, you can give the server name. But who will provide server name to you? Maybe your colleagues provide, your team member can provide to you what server name you need to connect to the work on the reports. So accordingly, you have to provide a server name. Whatever the server name your company use, that you have to provide. For now, you can click on dot, or you can use dot or localhost, both are same, or your machine name. So my machine name is M Krishna. That is my server name, my local machine name. How to check that? You go to start, and if you take this PC, sorry, not this PC, I think about PC. You can see my machine name is M Krishna. That is my server name. That's why I can use server name, dot or localhost. Anything is fine. So I can use anything. So an authentication. So if you select first option, Windows authentication, we can see there is no need to provide some password, because by default, whatever the password we use to log into our Windows machine, that will be taken automatically. If you click on connect, it will connect. Or if you go to the drop down, you can see the second option called SQL authentication. This option is used, if you remember some time back, we have created one password, right? With SA is the username and password is the password what you created. So if you go with second option, we have to use SA as the username and password whatever you entered there, that you have to enter here and click on connect. So anything is fine. But in the real time, it is mostly Windows authentication, because you will have Windows login, you can connect with this option. But if you have also privileged to work on SQL authentication, so for that you need some username password. You cannot use SA. Their SA will be controlled by DBA team. So if you ask them to create some login for you, so they will create login based on your project or work, and they'll share with you. So you need to use those like ID and password here and click on connect. So there are two different ways to connect to SQL Server. Both are fine. Anything is fine. So for now, just go with video authentication, but you can also check with second option. So anything is fine. Click on connect. But before you connect to the SQL Server, please make sure, by default, the services will start running, but still before you connect, so we'll verify this. Go to services and just click on yes somewhere here, and you can see SQL Server. So SQL Server, in the bracket, you can see instance name, MS SQL Server, and it is currently running. So if you see it is stopped, the service is stopped, then you cannot connect to SQL Server. That is very important. So if you face some error here or some issue here, please check your services and make sure it is running properly. If not, start the services, then click on connect. Currently it is running, no issues will be now. So click on connect. Now this connects to our local server. Now that's why you can see mkrishna is my local server name and our SQL Server version, and this is the username I used to connect to my SQL Server. So if you establish this connection, means you have successfully connected to your SQL Server. Clear? So I'm explaining these things because after 2 months you'll be joining somewhere, you'll be looking for a job. So that time you should not ask someone what we can do there in the real time. That's why I mix the technical things plus real time things together so that you understand better. That's why I draw these things and show how this works, so that you'll compare these things and understand better. So now once we have connected to the SQL Server, then we use this tool, SSMS tool, to create something, to alter something, to insert something, to select something. We use SQL commands. So what are those SQL commands? So I think we can start fresh tomorrow. So I'll just give some overview. We have majorly like server. I'll tell the hierarchy. Then we'll continue from tomorrow. So hierarchy would be server name. So we have SQL Server. Within the SQL Server, we have databases. Within database, we have database objects. We call them as DB objects. What are these DB objects? It can be tables. It can be stored to users. It can be views, and so on. There are many things. So once we have SQL Server, the next step is to create database. Then in the database, we create the tables and insert some data and all these things. For that, we need to follow some principles called DDL, DML, DCL, TCL. Data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, transaction control language. What are these things and what commands we can use here, why it is required? We'll start from tomorrow. So we'll discuss 10 more minutes. We'll see if you have any questions. We'll still continue. So these things will start from tomorrow. Okay, then it's your turn. Any questions? Please go ahead. Yes, Anita, I don't know whether it is a recent one or yes, please.
How to share the recorded video, Murli?
That I'll tell you in the group, Praveen. Don't worry, I'll share you that. Anita, you have any question?
It is previous one only.
Okay, fine. So others.
So Murli,
Yes.
the latest one you installed Microsoft Management Studio, right? So does it
Yes.
install with pre-installed databases?
No,
Suppose
no,
we
no,
want to.
no. They're just SSMS is a tool. So once we have the tool, then we create databases there.
Okay, we can import databases, right?
That yes, that also we can do. So if I have existing backups of databases, we can import. But I'll show that tomorrow. How to how to restore the backups of existing databases and all. But before you take the backup, first we should know how to create a database. We'll start from there. But
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
So this what we have installed is on premises only, you know, that we can do it in cloud also, no? By using Azure.
Yes, yes. See, yeah, this is on premises because you are installing physically in your machine.
Right.
If you install something physically in your machine, or it can be a server, that is called on premises. In Azure, we don't install these things. We just create these things in service. Like whatever you selected now, C drive, all this will not be there. In Azure, it will be a service which creates by giving some selections, by choosing some selections. It will be anyway. We'll discuss this, but just to answer you, we'll have this portal.azure.com. So maybe in your company, if they're using cloud, you have access to these things. If a company still use on-premises, you'll not have access to these things. Even for the practice purpose also. So for this, we need, we need to give a credit card. Then only this we can create these accounts. So initially for time period, you will create some trial subscription. So currently I'm using pay as you go. So whatever I use here, it just detects something from my credit card. So what service I use, but for the practice purpose, Microsoft gives $180 or $200 credit they give to you. So in the $200, you can practice, you can spin some services and you can practice these things.
Okay. Is there any time limit for that?
I think within first 1 year they have these services, but see the time limit is not like though you have this $200 credit also available, we can still use everything in one single day also, because as long as you create some virtual machines or some analysis services or whatever, any service that you're creating, that detects from your credit, whatever the Microsoft did. But if you want to continue to use these things, yes, we have to, we have to pay from a card. Even for trial also, we have to give credit card, then only the trial will get accepted. Because we don't know, because if you use more than the credit, so it's loss for Microsoft, right? So that time they will take something from your credit card. So, but I'll show like how to create this Azure SQL and how can we connect to that and how can we work on this. We will see in later sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, that means in the real time we will not install all these things. We will get the credentials, right?
Sorry.
In the real time, we will not install all these things. Only we will get the credentials.
Okay. In real time, if you are starting in a very new company, okay, then yes, even though it's a new company, you don't install these things. There will be a sort of team like infra team in your company or Windows team or SQL DBA team. So they do these things. As a developer, you don't install these things in general. Because by the time you join the company, these are already part of your company. These databases, servers are already there for a long time. You use these servers to work on your project, to work on your tasks. But before using these things, you should know how it was created, how data was there. These things you should know. That's what we're learning now. Any other questions? Hope you're following the classes. If you feel some difficulty or if you feel any difficulty understanding, that's okay, because it will take some time for the non-IT people or who are very new to these concepts, because as you're completely changing from your different career, it takes some time. But anyway, that you can able to understand these things slowly. If not, let me know. I'll try to help you understand.
Yeah, Murali.
Yes, Naresh.
So we have many databases, right? So we need is there any common tool like SSMS like that to connect?
Yes, we have common tools also.
Okay.
There are two tools. One of them I use is dbeaver. This one.
Okay.
So we can use to connect to MS SQL, PostgreSQL, Vertica, Oracle, anything. It's a
Okay.
universal database tool.
Okay. It's open source, right?
Open source, yeah. But
Yes,
in
open
general,
source.
we will not be required. I mean, if a company use only SSMS, sorry,
Okay.
only Microsoft SQL Server, then we don't require these things.
Okay. Because we may practice with this tool. That's why I'm asking. That's why.
Yeah, you can do, but again, it's same. See, even here also come to database and run some queries here.
Yes.
Even here also we use this tool as a
Okay.
communicator to the server. Then you write queries on this tool. But ultimately, whatever you write there, that works against your database only. Any query that you write that works against your database only. I mean, on top of your
Yes.
database.
Yes, on top of my database. Okay. Okay. Murali, thank you.
Okay, all right, guys. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue from the core SQL concepts. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.